Welcome to this place of worship, some building I found. Who are we worshipping? Oh, that's a secret. I'm not here to worship anyway. I'm here to ponder belief. I'm here to tell you something that I do not believe. Oh, what's that? How is that different from lying? Oh, if you believe this is as simple as lying, you have much to learn. This is pondering. Okay, alright, this mantle looks awesome, but let me change it to something better, by which I mean nothing. I have a theory. Judging by the name, you probably clicked this out of complete confusion, or alternatively, you recognized the phrase from the Tumblr post I stole it from and can no longer find. Anyways, yes, I have a theory and it is bad, but it is not contradicted by anything so far, though you should never fully trust something that cannot be disproven. Just to clarify, this is a joke theory. Kinda. I'm taking it super seriously specifically to make you think about what you believe. I will first lay out the pieces of the puzzle so that you may come to the conclusion with me. I suppose in that case, the very name of the theory is also a piece of the puzzle for you to figure out how to place in the conclusion. Let us begin. Firstly, I have gathered the mentions of blood in the text of the game. In Chapter 1, Lancer will have a cutscene where he tries to be scary, during which he mentions lots of blood, splooshing blood, very gross and bad. He also has a bucket to keep the blood in order to not make a mess. Lancer is therefore familiar with the concept of blood. Later, if you interact with this stump and make Ralse eat from the dinner hole, he says, "There's a jar of blood?" Lancer then clarifies that it's salsa instead. Ralse knows what blood is and what it looks like. In Chapter 2, Swatchlings have dialogue saying, "We'll make your bed with sheets blood red." Swatchlings are familiar with blood as something they can make a comparison to. The 3 bits of blood information you probably thought of were the following. Does it hurt to be made out of blood? What the hell is this giant blood stain? And Susie bleeding at the end of Chapter 4. From this information, we can assume that Darkners are familiar with blood, that Chris, as a human, has blood, and that Susie is also familiar with blood and has it. We can also assume that monsters generally do not have blood. The only monsters we know of that have had blood are Susie and Sans in Undertale specifically. There is also this lyric from Raise Up Your Bat. Oh god, the music. I can't sing. Why did I can't. Oh god, okay. When the demon heart is crying and the blood is gushing bright, raise up your bat, the burning bite. Which I think is specifically referring to the scene with Susie where her blood is visibly glowing. Finally, there's a movie series in universe called Blood Crushers, but that is irrelevant to the theory. That is one part of the evidence for the I'm pregnant and it's toys theory. It's possible that by now you've already predicted my conclusion. Part 2. Biology and culture kinda. We learn from the How to Draw Dragons book that monsters in Deltarune do, in fact, have a nudity taboo. Now, just the text, the purple character on the cover is dressed immodestly, isn't exactly concrete evidence of this, especially if Chris is the narrator. Fortunately, there is more dialogue to help. Birdley in the library, when telling Chris that the book is overdue, almost describes what it looks like. Ah, did you forget what it looks like? The front is perhaps a mauve dragon wearing lipstick. And as for her clothes, I believe they are, well, you know, Chris, I think you'll know it when you see it. Birdley, a known monster, finds it uncomfortable to talk about plainly. This confirms that monsters share that bit of culture. Additionally, the text, "Your brother will never return this book," confirms that monsters can have, let's just say, reasons to keep that kind of thing around. Oh, there I go doing the same thing Birdley did. See? Look at the implications of me not speaking clearly. Anyways, there also exist 2 known bathrooms in Hometown and a drinking fountain in the school. From this information, I think that monsters are, despite not having blood, at least mostly biological. I think that magic is the blood they have, but I don't have much evidence for that claim. The reason I'm pointing this out is that I think the information can be brought together to show us that monsters do not reproduce using magic exclusively. Now, if by now you haven't figured out my scheme, this next part will probably make it very clear. Part 3. The Dark Worlds are influenced by imagination. I'm not saying that the Dark Worlds are imaginary. No, they are very much real and have effects on the Light World. They are, however, different based on the imagination. A Dark World creates a world inspired by the ideas of its creator, probably. The probably there is because maybe it's like a general population's collective imagination. I can be certain that everyone watching this video understands the joke in this image. Let me get closer to the point I'm trying to show you with this. Queen knows what boobs are, so does Ralsei. Asriel never wanting to return that book with a dragon on it that I imagine has an outfit that leaves little up to the imagination. That means that such a thing can be reimagined later. The conclusion I have come to with this information is very simple. Susie is half Darkner. It works with what we know of the world, fits thematically, and I have more evidence to go that I think fits better to talk about after revealing this. Susie is the only monster we know of that bleeds. Darkners have blood. It's really quite simple. The secret bosses. What do we know about them? Jevil, normal. Svampton, normal. I don't care about them. Eram, however, is interesting. Oh, I just felt a couple of my viewers get confused. By secret boss, I mean boss that is secret and a pretty big challenge. The Roaring Knight is not a secret boss. It is, however, the Shadow Crystal boss, which is a different category that just happens to overlap a lot, probably due to how Shadow Crystals work. Yes, Eram is interesting for a couple of reasons. You fight them alone with Chris in a game, layers deeper, darker. You fight as a Lightner with the purest light in the world, against a being that is so deep in darkness that the phrase, "I can see in the dark, you know," is part of its introduction speech. You literally get the shadow mantle from it. In the next chapter, you fight alone as Susie. It's a wonderful battle filled with hope. You fight against someone who is only half alive, but still as powerful as ever. Is the old man a Lightner or a Darkner? It's not very clear. We can say that he's certainly a Darkner, but does that mean he's not also a Lightner, technically? According to my theory, you fight half against half. Is it an opposite halves? Who knows how it works exactly, you get the point. Not only that, but being a... maybe I should come up with a term for this. Halfner? That sounds bad, but I fear it's the only one that I can think of that isn't just stealing another name from someone else. That stolen name is Duskner with a K, and I don't remember which theory video I'm stealing that term from. Was that one Jaru? Anyways, being a Duskner or a Dustner would place you somewhere in between. We already had parallels between the old man and Gaster. Tying Susie to Gaster with it is just insane. No, Susie is on the opposite side in this battle. She'd be the opposite of Gaster, so what, the angel? The demon? Friend? All I know is that if Susie is tied somehow to Gaster, or the opposite of Gaster, this piece of the theory is strengthened.
My name is Susie Gaster.
A lot of people think that Chapter 5 will give us a solo Ralsei fight. Ralsei is a Darkner, as we know. Here is what I propose. If Ralsei fights against a Lightner, this pattern becomes true and can concretely support the theory. As some of you might know, I already have some ideas about Ralsei fighting a Lightner, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I hope you can understand how the name of the theory makes sense now. I don't think I actually believe this theory, but I do think that this is close to the kind of thing Toei would do. Would a lot of this also be solved by Susie simply being half human? Yeah, probably, but that's not as funny as this, and not nearly as original of an idea as this one. The point isn't to be right, the point is to think about it. How convincing was my argument? The way I structured it felt natural and I took it seriously, but it's unlikely to be correct, and you know that. I've heard countless theories that have an idea that maybe the creator believes that are definitely wrong. Before chapters 3 and 4, Chris Knight theory became a really big thing because the people were very convincing, not because they were right. It is so important to not just hear what someone has to say, but understand it as well. There are logical leaps and whatnot. The moral of the story isn't just about Deltarune either. You've got to question everything, you've got to be curious and come up with things that you can find out. And you've got to make sure you don't follow anything blindly. Trust things that make sense. You remember what Eram said, right? I can see in the dark, you know. The question is, can you? So, what do you two think? Wow, that's some pretty good feedback. I'd make some weird gaster noises if I could do that with my mouth. Anyways, you've reached the end of the video. It was a fun video to make. Hopefully, if everything goes my way in the future here, I'll be streaming Deltarune on Twitch at some point. Probably a couple, maybe a week after it comes out, and it's gonna be so hard to avoid spoilers. But I'm so glad that I got this video out before the next chapter came out. Anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.